Shalom everyone, hope you're all doing really well. Last week I came across a document online which speaks about uh, Christian face coverings, so to say, and I thought I would print it out and read it to you guys because I thought it was rather interesting and quite beautiful for the most part. I am quite aware that most believing women have, unfortunately, a rather big issue with modesty in general, including head coverings, with some saying that only married women should be wearing it, with others also saying that you don't have to wear one at all. And so, for the most part, I do know and believe that even this topic itself is going to pose as an issue with some people. However, I'm not making this video as a command or to force people to wear a face covering. I myself currently am not wearing one, even though I did do or recorded half of the video an hour ago with a niqab because I thought it would be fun to make a video about face coverings with an actual face covering. However, I became quite hot and kind of took it off halfway, and then so here I am redoing the video. Although maybe next time I should just put on the air conditioning on instead. So I do just want to get straight into it. However, I do want to just mention that we as believing women really do need to be careful what we do wear in public, how we present ourselves, because we as women and men as men are wired quite differently, and we do need to be careful not to, cause someone to, stumble and sin and be that stumbling block for them. And, I know many women are going to complain and say, men shouldn't be looking at women in general, and that will be rather nice, but it's also, on the same hand, quite, or not quite surprising that men actually are looking, considering how women are dressed in today's world and society. So, all we can do, I suppose, as believing women is be set apart and be different and dress different, and do our part so as to not cause men to look and gaze and, not fall into, sin. So I think we need to also, not just, give in to our feelings, so to say, when it does come to modesty and dress, and say, well, I want to dress this certain way, men shouldn't be looking. I think when it comes to scripture in general, and I've said it before, our personal feelings and opinions don't really matter. We need to follow Yahweh or not at all, as I say, because, you can be upset with us who do speak about modesty all you want. However, at the end of the day, you are offending Yahweh, you are being disobedient and rebellious towards Him, and that's something that you need to work on, on yourself. So I think if we complain less and are less defensive when people are trying to purely give us advice, and something that we need to do because the word tells us that altogether. So I think, we do need to work on ourselves and really stop complaining as believers and just really dress the part. I mean, I know modesty is, about the heart and not just, a physical dress issue, so to say. But the way you present yourself physically also does speak about your heart too. So we do need to be careful, in all aspects of modesty. So I will continue and make more videos about modesty on this channel. It is definitely something I'm greatly passionate about. So, look forward to more videos. But I did come across this document, which I do want to read. I know many of you also might have an issue reading or listening to commentary from church fathers or Jewish sages, but I think it's also quite important to listen with an open mind, because some of these comments are quite interesting, they're nice and quite beautiful, because it does, for the most part, say it very rather directly of how we as believers should be. So without further ado, The first commentary I'm going to read is from Jewish Women's Archive, Tamar, Midrash, and Agada by Tamar Kadari. It says, Rebecca covered her face with a veil when she first saw Isaac. According to the laws of Hammurabi, the use of a veil was symbolic of a free-born woman, and its use by female slaves or prostitutes was forbidden. The next one says, and it's from Clement of Alexandria, Ante-Nicene Fathers, Volume 2, page 266. It has also been commanded that the head should be veiled and the face covered, for it is a wicked thing for a beauty to be a snare to men, and I think that's very true. Nor is it seemly for a woman to wish to make herself conspicuous by using a purple veil. The next one is from Clement of Alexandria, Ante-Nicene Fathers, Volume 2, page 290. Woman and man are to go to church decently attired, with natural step, embracing silence, possessing unfeigned love, pure in body, pure in heart, fit to pray to God. Let the woman observe this further. Let her be entirely covered, unless she happen to be at home. For that style of dress is grave and protects from being gazed at, and she will never fall, who puts before her eyes modesty and her shawl, nor will she invite another to fall into sin by uncovering her face. For this is the wish of the word, since it is becoming her to pray veiled. The next one is from Tertullian, Ante-Nicene Fathers, Volume 3, page 95. Among the Jews, so usual is it for their women to have the head veiled, that they may thereby be recognized. I ask in this instance for the law. I put the apostle aside. If Rebecca at once drew down her veil when in the distance she saw her betrothed, this modesty of a mere private individual could not have made a law, or it will have made it only for those who have the reason which she had. Let virgins alone be veiled, and this when they are coming to be married, and not till they have recognized their destined husband. The next one is from Tertullian, Ante-Nicene Fathers, Volume 3, page 689. Why do you denude before God, will you cover before men? Will you be more modest in public than in the church? Be veiled, virgin, if virgin you are, for you ought to blush. If you are a virgin, shrink from the gaze of many eyes. Let no one wonder at your face. Let no one perceive your falsehood. The next one is, from Tertullian, Ante-Nicene Fathers, Volume 4, page 37. For some, with their turbans and woolen bands, do not veil their heads, but bind it up, protected indeed in front, but where the head properly lies bare. Others are to a certain extent covered over the region of the brain with linen coifs of small dimensions, I suppose for fear of pressing the head and not reaching quite to the ears. If they are so weak in their hearing as not to be able to hear through a covering, I pity them. Let them know that the whole head constitutes the woman. Its limits and boundaries reach as far as the place where the robe begins. The region of the veil is coextensive with the space covered by their hair when unbound, in order that the next two may be encircled. For it is they which must be subjected, for the sake of which power ought to be had on the head. The veil is their yoke. The next one is from Tertullian, Ante-Nicene Fathers, Volume 4, page 37. Arabia's heathen females will be your judges, who cover not only the head, but the face also, so entirely that they are content with one eye free to enjoy rather half the light than to prostitute the entire face. A female would rather see than be seen, and for this reason a certain Roman queen said that they were most unhappy in that they could more easily fall in love than be fallen in love with, whereas they are rather happy in their immunity from that second, and indeed more frequent, infelicity, that females are more apt to be fallen in love with than to fall in love. The second last one is from Tertullian, Ante-Nicene Fathers, Volume 4, page 37. To us the Lord has, even by revelations, measured the space for the veil to extend over. For a certain sister of ours was thus addressed by an angel, beating her neck, as if in applause. Elegant neck, and deservedly bare. It is well for you to unveil yourself, from the head right down to the loins, lest withal this freedom of your neck profits you not. And of course, what you have said to one of you have said to all. But how severe a chastisement will they likewise deserve, who, amid the recital of the Psalms, and at any mention of the name of God, continue uncovered, who even when about to spend time in prayer itself, with the utmost readiness, place a fringe, or a tuft, or any thread whatever, on the crown of their heads, and suppose themselves to be covered. And that's one thing I sort of sometimes find issue with. I know everyone's on a different journey, and, we're sort of led differently in a sense, if that makes sense. However, I think head coverings are for the purpose of covering the hair. And so when people, or women, rather, are just wearing caps or headbands and, their whole entire hair is showing anyway, in my opinion, that's not really a head covering. But, that's just my opinion. I think if you're going to cover your hair or wear a head covering for the purpose of covering your hair, then I think you need to cover your hair, and that's entirely. But as I said, that's just my opinion. So the last one I'm going to read says, and it's from Clement the Instructor, 3.12. Let the woman observe this further. And this is just a repeat of, I think, what I read earlier, but I'm going to read it anyway. Let the woman observe this further. Let her be entirely covered, unless she happens to be at home, for that style of dress is grave, and protects from being gazed at, and she will never fall, who puts before her eyes modesty and her shawl, nor will she invite another to fall into sin by uncovering her face, for this is the wish of the word, since it is becoming for her to pray veiled. So that's all the commentary that I found online. And I know many people are not going to agree, and that's fine, but I thought to read it anyway and just put out a video about it, because modesty is quite important and needs to be spoken about more and more, because even though the world isn't getting it, I think we as believing women, most of us, unfortunately, are not getting it either, and would prefer to live worldly, live just like the world, instead of being actually set apart. And that's something we are called to do. So I'm going to leave it at that before offending other people. But I will be back with more modesty videos extremely soon, so look out for that. So yeah, thank you for listening, and until next time, shalom.